Dude, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Brad Queck with VirtualIT. I want to thank you all for attending our Microsoft Bookings webinar today. I'm certain you'll come away with some ideas on how bookings can streamline the process of scheduling meetings with your clients, prospects, and partners. It seems to me like scheduling meetings always takes more time than the meetings themselves. Back and forth emails, missed connections, calendar conflicts can make it a real struggle. Microsoft Bookings is here to help. It's a free scheduling tool that integrates seamlessly with your Outlook calendar, eliminating the scheduling headaches you face every day. Before we get started, here are a couple of important points to know. Bookings, as I said, is included as part of your current Office 365 subscriptions, so there's no additional cost to use it throughout your organization. Bookings can be accessed through the web app or directly through Microsoft Teams. And it's actually possible to easily create different kinds of meetings based on the services or topics of your meetings, along with the associated staff that are required to attend. With that, I'm pleased to announce that we are partnered with KnowledgeWave, a leader in providing live and on-demand training for Microsoft 365. I'd like to introduce Dave Deese with KnowledgeWave, who will be conducting the webinar today. Dave, take it away.
Thanks, Brad. Let's take a look at the topics for this session. So of course, we're going to describe what Microsoft Bookings is, and Brad just did a great job of doing that, and we'll continue on with that. We'll talk about setting appointments via Bookings, meaning the client side. So we're going to start by showing what the customer is going to see. So when you set up your bookings, what we call your bookings page, this is what the client sees to be able to book an appointment with you. And then we'll show you how you create that page. So kind of reverse engineering, if you will. When we teach bookings, this really works as a nice flow. So you can see what the client's going to expect and then show you how we build that. So we'll show you what we call the bookings page, which is the business side of bookings. We'll show you how we create services. So you'll be able to say, maybe you have more than one service that you want to provide. Maybe you have a training session, or you have a consulting, or you have some kind of a quote service or something like that. So you can have different services that a customer may request time from you. Resources, you may have more than one person that's available for a specific service. So you can attach multiple people to a service or multiple services. We'll show you how the calendar works so that when you create on the booking side, it's nice to be able to have an assistant, if you will. So similar to Outlook, and by the way, Bookings is tightly coupled with Outlook. And I'll show you how you can tell that in a little bit. So when you go in and you start assigning people to this as a resource, you'll be able to see what their availability is. And then there's a place for you to manually create customers. And that's important. There's no current implementation of Bookings that automatically fills customer information for you. But if you have customers that you work with and you want to keep track of them within the bookings page, there's an availability to do that. And then we'll end by showing you how this is accessible through your Teams app. Excuse me. And we'll even introduce you to a concept called virtual appointments. And all virtual appointments it's a fairly new tool from Teams, from Microsoft, that allows you to, that's kind of designed for you to invite people who are outside of your organization or outside of your domain. Again, please, if you have any questions during the session, please just, don't wait till the end. You can ask at any point in time. So what is Bookings? What is Microsoft Bookings? It gives you a faster alternative to time-consuming and repetitive scheduling tasks. So instead of the back and forth nature, as Brad mentioned, of trying to schedule an appointment, you have work to do and you want to be able to provide services. So this is a way that will allow you to be able to set up the tasks ahead of time, and then be able to allow the customer self-driven scheduling. You'll be able to customize appointment details, so you'll be able to get into the nitty gritty of what can happen. And again, it's an easily navigated page. It gives you. I'm going to show you some examples. It's super easy for a customer to use. They can use it on their computer, their desktop or laptop, or even their mobile device. And as I mentioned, it's tightly coupled or integrated with Exchange Online. So we'll show you how that works. If you're familiar with Outlook, you have a calendar, right, of all your events. Well, what Bookings does is you can set up your booking page to say, I want my availability to come from my calendar, so that when a customer tries to book me, it doesn't even make the times available that I'm busy. And I'm going to show you how that works. So this is an example of what the client sees. I'm going to show this to you live again. Just this is just introducing the concept. So this would be what's known as my personal booking page. And so the customer sees this, it's the page, and I created that. I put my image up there. That's me. That's my name, and says booking page. And then it also has booking with me. And here where it says meeting type, this is where if I had another meeting type, you would see that on the right. So one is booking a meeting with me. The other one might be, I might have another meeting type for a training session, or for consultation, or something very specific. There's a question in, I'd like to embed this into our website. Yes, so one of the things I'm going to show you is when you create what we call a shared booking site, there is a way to copy the embedded code. So whoever is managing your website, VirtualIT, can put that right in the website, and the customer will right on the website be able to connect to the page. Yep, and you can name it whatever you want. And again, I'm going to show you that. And then down below, the meeting type. In this case, there's only one, but I might have more than one. And then it shows, again, this is personal meeting. This is for me. So this is based on my personal one. So it has a calendar, dates, and so on. And it even lets the customer know that that they themselves are available. And then what this is on this screen shows the way the page on the right is created is by looking at your personal booking page, and you're configuring it. You can see you have the title. You could categorize these. So if you're using categorization within Outlook, you can do that, so that those meetings will come up in your Outlook calendar in that category. You have a description for this, and you can see here where it says create an appointment to ask your questions with a tax expert. That's what's in here for meeting type. Location, with this switch on for the meetings team, this is going to be an automatic setup as a Teams meeting. So it will be able to go ahead and send a link to the customer to let them know that this is going to be online. Increments of time, and then public or private. I'll cover those. But public is basically allowing anybody that has the link to your bookings page to be able to book your time. Where private is, they have to have the link, meaning you would attach this like in an email message to somebody. So instead of using Outlook, you're still allowing them, but it's not like everybody knows it. And I'll show you the difference in a little bit. Then how you want to schedule it. You can say your date and time, things of that nature. Again, we'll show you this live. And then advanced options, things like buffering. So if you allow customers, as you can see to the right, I've got 12 to 12 p.m., then 12:30. If an appointment is set for 12 p.m. and it's going to go 30 minutes, then I could have a buffer that says if that time is 10-minute buffer and that time for 12 p.m. is taken, then the 12:30 one would go away because it falls within that buffering. So that this would allow you right now with it set to 0, your clients could book back-to-back sessions. So you don't want to prevent them from being able to pick those half-hour time slots. But if one is taken, you may want to give yourself some time. So instead of having to do that manually, you can set it up for the buffering between meetings. And then again, how long you want it to run. Lead time has to do with how much advanced notice do they have to do this, so that if they log in right now, they couldn't set up a meeting within 15 minutes of now. They've got to wait at least the first time that's going to show available is an hour from now. And then maximum lead time, how far out can they schedule? This could be 90 days, it could be 365 days. And then these are important features, the email reminders. This is going to, based on the time, you can send an email reminder and you can create the reminder. I'll show you how to do that. And then follow-up email, if there's a follow-up. So if you have, one thing to help engagement is, you don't want to, sometimes it's going to be hard to remember to follow up after a meeting, especially once you start using bookings. Hopefully you'll get more and more meetings coming in. So it'll be nice to automatically set up an email follow-up so that it can go out, so many days after the meeting. Hey, thank you for meeting with me. Let's set up another meeting, or whatever it might be. You can include a link or anything like that. So those are what we call personal pages. Then this is shared, meaning that with shared, it means you could assign multiple staff members to it. So it looks similar to the personal page, but you have that prompt in the middle of selecting a staff member. And that's because when we call it shared, we mean that we're sharing resources on the business side. So the customer, depending on how you set it up, may be able to select anyone or one individual person. So this drop down, if I wanted to meet with Dave, this drop down would show Dave and then what Dave's availability is. If it was Lynn, it would be Lynn's availability. By saying anyone, it's kind of a combination. You pick and you're going to get the person. And there is a way that if you only want, if you don't want to, this can go away. So the customer, you don't have to have this option. You can make sure that you don't want to give the customer the say of when they want to schedule it. Yes, somebody's asking, will this presentation be available afterwards? Yes. All right. So let's go through here and we'll show you how all of this works. We're going to do this live now that we've got an intro to this. So basically what I'm showing now, this is my Microsoft 365 account. I'm logged in and there is my image again. There I am. And I'm going to go ahead and launch bookings from here. Now I have it tied here or I have it pinned to my navigation bar. If it's not, you would look for it in apps. You click on apps and then you would find bookings in here. Okay. If you don't, then you're going to want to contact VirtualIT. But I believe now that we're teaching this, I'm sure you all can have access to that. And with the three little dots or ellipsis, you could go ahead and pin that to your navigation bar if you wanted to. If you don't, then you just have to come in here every time and run it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select my bookings icon. And here it is. So this was, I showed the book a meeting and office hours. These are two different types of meetings. And those are personal, meaning they're for me. So they're only going to look at my calendar. It's only based on my calendar and my services. Shared are more things like that are going to be organizational wide. So, and again, the term shared simply means multiple people at the organization, not shared with clients, not how you do that. That's different. This is sharing just means that you'll have multiple resources available to you. So if I want to look at my personal booking page, which is the one I showed you earlier with me on there, and it shows here, book a time with me. And again, I can change the name if I wanted to. This category, this is where I could say, give it a category color or name, and then that again is going to be showing up in my calendar. So one thing you may want to consider is if there's a color that you're not using in Outlook that you want to be able to see, visual, right? A lot of us are very visual. I'm a very visual person. I want to be able to look at my calendar, whether it's in Teams or Outlook, and at a quick glance to see how many meetings are out there that were created using bookings. So I may want to categorize this particular meeting and call it green and bookings. So that's just one recommendation or best practice might be to categorize your meeting. Here, again, this is whatever you want to call it. Create an appointment to ask your tax expert. I am no tax expert. But let's say training expert, because I'm doing that, or whatever job you are, whatever you are there for. Again, use your imaginations, whatever you want. Again, keeping it focused on what you offer as services. Location, if this comes up as a Teams meeting, again, it's a virtual meeting. However, if I wanted to make it an offer to come into our office, if that's what you do, you could turn this off and you could type in what location you wanted it to be in. I'm going to leave that at Teams for our demonstration. And then you can have your increments. You could be, 30 minutes, 15, 45 hour, or custom. So you can even make it longer. So if you click on custom, it'll come up and it'll ask you for how long you want it. And it's, and I just did want to show when you see that it's in minutes. So you'd have to figure out, well, if it's 2 hours, then it'd have to be 120 minutes, so on and so forth. Public versus private. Again, this will appear on your bookings page. So this service is going to be on the bookings page that you share. And I'm going to show you how to share that in a little bit. Whereas private is more of you're kind of like more pushing it. So think of it as a public bookings is the people that you give access to see it. They're pushing it towards you. Where private is, okay, Dave, I want to have a meeting with you. So I'm going to send you this private link for that particular type of meeting. Now, here, append your personal page in the email signature. What this allows me to do is it puts it in my email. So by clicking this, and if I go to my Outlook page and I go to my new email message and I add a signature, I have a signature for David VDs. Oops, I don't want to do that one. Let me go to signatures for a second. So here, down here in my email, I also want to say include a link to my bookings page. I click on that, now it's there. So you have to set that in both places. You have to set it here to append your personal booking page, and then in Outlook, select it as well. Okay, and now it's just part of my signature. So that's one way that you would publish your bookings page to your customer by virtue of that. Now, when they get the email and they click on that link, they're going to be able to go to your bookings page. So when they click on that link in the email, they're going to come to this page. Someone's asking, this is a loaded question. Oh, go ahead.
Dave, I'll go ahead and answer that for you.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay.
I'll answer
All
back through
right.
chat. You can keep going
Okay.
forward.
So
So a bit
use
complex.
custom hours. Now, if you here, what this does is, and this is important, so I'm going to look at this for a minute. This use custom availability means that if you want to use regular meeting hours, then it's just going to be whatever is on your personal Outlook calendar, or specifically Exchange calendar. So you're not setting up any special time. So what that does now, that means that the customer is going to be able to select any time that you want them to select based on when you're not busy. So you've got to do one of two things: either really think about that and go to Outlook and make sure any spots you don't want, you want to show busy. The other thing you can do is use the custom hours and then select what hours you're going to set aside for these customer bookable meetings. I hope I'm explaining that okay. So for instance, maybe for customer meetings, I don't want to do any on Monday, because Monday is like my day, and that's the day of the week where I am preparing for the whole week. I've got, all my team meetings, all of my staff. I've got to meet with them. I've got these follow up, or maybe I'm in an agile environment, so I've got my scrums that I have to do on Mondays. So Mondays is all about me. I also may not want to do them Friday, because Fridays just sometimes things come up on Fridays, or just not good. So I want to do these, and then 8 o'clock in the morning is just cruel. So I may want to say I'm going to start, at a certain time, 10 a.m. to 5, or on Tuesday, and maybe I do that. That's my magic time for these particular meetings. Again, it's all up to you and your team how you want to do that. Okay, I'll have to get to that question in a little bit. Someone's asking about how would I use this service. Appointment time is booked over the phone, not via the portal. That's a little bit more difficult, but we can try to figure something out. Okay. All right, so then I can save this. And then once I'm back here, this is where I could do a share my meeting. And this is how, now if you wanted to try this out, if you're practicing, you want to try this out. I do want to say one thing, and I want to try to remember to say it over and over again. You want to be careful of how many pages you create, because you don't want to have what Microsoft likes to call booking sprawl, right? Right now it shows 5 different meetings. I could add more. The challenge is there's no easy way to delete these. It has to be done by an admin of your Office 365 environment, and they have to use some business intelligence in Microsoft to do that. So they would either have to delete your whole account and start over, or do some real additional programming work to make that happen. So anyway, so having said that, if you're just creating this for the first time and I want to test this out, the easiest way to do that is where it says share this meeting. Click on that, and it comes up and it says that's the name of the meeting. And here's the Outlook link. I can copy this. I could also send it an email to myself if I wanted to, but I'm going to recommend that you just copy this, then open up another tab in your browser and paste that into your browser, and it's going to take you to that public page. And here it goes that's me. And remember, I set it up. Watch the 28th. You'll notice now that Mondays and Fridays are no longer available. Okay. And also my 8 o'clock time is not there, and the last appointment has to happen before the 4:30 time slot. Okay. That's because that's how I configured it. see for April, you'll see Mondays and Tuesdays aren't available, and every other day, the first meeting is not until 10 a.m. The other personal page is the office hour. I'm sorry, is the private page. Looks the same, and for all practical purposes, the configuration is very similar. The only thing is that now I'm saying it's private, meaning that I'm not going to put it in my email attachments. I could, but now anybody, the whole idea is that you're keeping this for you to manage only. So it says only people with the link. Okay. So again, you could use customizable hours, when it's bookable. I can say advanced options. Now, advanced options, these are those options, as I mentioned in the intro. I have a buffer. I can say that, well, time before a meeting, I don't want, if I'm going to have overlapping meetings, like right now, you'll see these are half-hour increments. Well, if I go from 1 to 2:30, I really don't want the next meeting to start until I have some time in between. So you could use some buffering in between, and then limit the start time to however many intervals. This is where you have your lead time, meaning that I don't, as you saw it here with my actual booking with me, you'll notice that I gave it at least, a day's of advanced notice, not 2 days or whatever, not a number of hours. And then lead time, what's the maximum? So this is how quickly can I do it? Well, it's got to wait at least a day. And then custom wise, I want them to have, I'm going to schedule out to the next year. Now, this is also a fairly new feature that I know some of our team really enjoys. It says add an email reminder. So what this means is that you're setting up your page, but if a customer uses this to book your time, then you can say when you want them to remember. Now, one of the things that Microsoft likes to tout about this is you'll no longer get those, oh, I forgot, right, about our meeting. So the idea is, you can't, automatically force them, but you can give them a reminder. So you can say, I want them to have a reminder. And I'm just going to say, here is your okay, and then you can save the changes. And now, so I've done all of that. Oh, there's one other thing is email follow-up. This is another thing that a lot of our team likes to use is, maybe the day after our meeting, right? Always follow-up is nice. You can say something, thank you for your time yesterday. And then you could say, maybe you can even say, please feel free to another meeting, something like that. Save the changes. Okay. So again, those are emails that are going to automatically go out for the customer, and they'll get that reminder and they'll get that follow up after, a day after the meeting. So I'm going to save that. And now, if I'm going to go ahead and, oops, I'm sorry. So I can share this. Now, when I click share, I'm clicking that within that. I can also just go back and hit this little share button here. So here's that meeting, office hours, and here's the link. Okay. Make the link valid for only one booking. This is really handy with that. And you'll notice you didn't get this with the public one because the public, you don't want to say they can only book it once. They may want to save the URL. because you don't have a different app, but they may want to save the URL for your booking page so that the next time they want to set up a public meeting, right? So you think about this, if this was like if it was a hairdresser or car detailing or something of that nature, that you want to use the public one, every 6 weeks or every month or what have you. Where here, this is a private meeting. This is some other important stuff. I don't want you to be able to use this anytime you want, even though I said in the email, feel free to set up another one. They can go to your public page. But here I want to make the link valid only for one booking. And what that means is that, and I'm going to use email, and I can put in the person's email who I want this to go to. I'll send it to me so I can show it to you. You can automatically accept a response to me and then send it. So now I, Dave Deese at Knowledge Wave, is going to get that email. And then if I book an appointment, that's it. I'd have to get another email from you to be able to book a second meeting. Now, so those are personal. Okay. Someone's, Dan's answering. Okay. So I have a couple pages I created here. I'm going to go into this org-wide pages. So these are called shared. So invite your team to get people to book you. So if I click on this, the first thing that comes up now is the calendar view. This is because it's allowing me to, I'm creating this this booking page called org-wide page. And right now I have 2 people on staff. So if I come to my staff, I'm showing I've got 2 people who are there. That's why in the calendar, I can see what people are doing today and tomorrow and so on. So it's kind of like allowing me to use a version of an assistant, meeting assistant. Okay. So, but this again, this is what we're calling shared. Again, it's shared because right now, Dave, Deese, and Lynn. I could add more if I wanted to. So if I wanted to add more people as a variance for this particular service, I come into staff and I add new staff. And I could say the whole company or just one person. And I would say, what color they are in the meeting, email, phone number. Guests can be assigned to bookings. Notify the staff member via email when a booking is assigned to them. This is selected by default, and it's pretty important because if you're setting up the shared page, you want to let your staff know, and you want them to know when they've been scheduled for something. So that's kind of an important thing to do. Okay. Use business hours, and by default, that's going to allow them to see what's available. It's still going to use the combination of your business hours along with whatever hours are here. So let me explain that. So for instance, if I go to the calendar and I'm open from my business hours, I just picked is 9 to 5. And when the customer wants to set up a meeting with Lynn Robbins, they'll see 9 to 5. However, the times that she's currently busy or away or already scheduled will not be available in that time. I'll show you that in a little bit. The bookings page. This is what the page is going to look like. So let me show you an example of that. So this is the page. Again, this is the client facing, like I showed you at the beginning. Right now, there's one service, IT support. The staff, this is where they could select anyone. If I select anyone, it's going to be a combination of calendar and everybody else's calendar. If I was to select just Lynn, for instance, you'll notice her time is less available, right? Because we saw earlier in her schedule. Again, this is tied to your Exchange calendar. So her calendar, she's busy a big part of the day, so those times aren't available tomorrow. But they are, some of them are available for Friday. Okay, am I explaining that? So it's really nice that it's you know, the number one rule of time management is we should all have just one calendar, and this tool is paying attention to that time management. It's using your one calendar that's all synchronized with bookings, Teams, and Outlook Exchange. Now, if the customer selects a time, they're going to put in their information and so on. Their first and last name is required, but nothing else really is, because we have to know who we're setting up the meeting for. So again, I just want to show you how this all got set up. And this is that org-wide page. Again, now I'm on the customer side. And somebody else earlier asked, what if we wanted to put this as part of our website? That's what this embed button is for. So I went to our org-wide page testing, whatever you call it, your shared page, and you go to the bookings page. Here you can share the link, you can email the link to somebody, or you can embed. And what this does is you would copy this code as a link or the iframe. Whatever your IT team tells you that they need, this is where you would get that from. And they would put it in your website so that it's a link or embedded code in your website. So when a customer logs into it, or I should say connects to or selects the bookings page, that's where it's going to go. Yes, someone's asking if you had an all-day Outlook event set to Outlook Office or busy working elsewhere, for instance. Would that block bookings for that time period? Yes. Yep. You'll again, because it's going to show whoever, as long as it's the resources that are there. So let me make even more detail of that. If Dave Deese is meeting all day event, then Dave Deese's name is not going to show up on the availability page. Whereas Lynn is not all day. But if it's like a company-wide thing, everybody's out all day for a company-wide, or everybody who's supplying this particular service, right, is at an all-day event or all-day meeting, then that event is going to be booked. So yes, so if it's, again, if it's in Outlook, it's going to show up the way it is. So for instance, if I looked at Lynn's calendar right now, I would see these are here. I look at Dave's. Here's my here's my email. Here's my email calendar, and I am not busy here. I am busy on Friday, so that would show here if I chose Dave Deese. What time was that for again? That time's. Yep. Okay.
It can take a minute or two before it refreshes to your calendars. It has to resync.
Hey, Dave, this is Brad. We also use a slightly, or kind of the opposite of what you're describing here, which is if Mike and I are going to go out and meet with a potential new client and we want to give them the opportunity to schedule, we want to make sure that wherever they're scheduling, that both of us are available at the same time. Is that something you could share?
When you are going to share this page, so if I was to, here's my booking page. If I was to copy this, here we are. So under here, with default scheduling policy, there's this staff control. It says allow customers to choose specific person for the blocking. They would deselect this. So in the calendar for a particular service, I've got to save that. So let's say for this particular IT support service, the staff that I have configured for it are two of your particular people. Then when I go look at that service now, or should say, this allow customer to choose specific person, that's going to be set to no. So let me see if I can make sure that that's synchronized.
Is it right below that, Dave, where you have staff control? And it says book when staff are free. What do you get for a drop down there? Okay. Yeah. You know, what we often do is you create some short follow-up tip videos. I think that would be a really valuable video for us to create, and we'd be happy to provide to you guys after that shows you that process. Because we do it on our team as well, where you want to have the two people available. So we'll capture that process as a post follow-up, get that to Brad, and we'll have a short video that'll walk you through that process.
Okay, so again, that's for that. You can customize the page, making it a different color. Time zone, we don't recommend messing with that because the time zones are set up using the time from Greenwich Mean, and not everybody knows how to calculate that. So ask your IT team for support for that. But generally, it's going to come up with the time zone set up where you are. Customers. This is not anything magical. So in other words, even though a customer schedules a meeting, Bookings does not currently collect that and put this in here. So this is where you would need to type in who your customers are. So it's like a manual Rolodex. In staff, this is who is saying where you would say who you wanted to be able to be available for those services and what the services are. So IT support, that was that first button, right? So when I looked at the page here where it says IT support, if I wanted to have another service, I would add another service and then fill all this information out. So if it's, not IT support, if it's recruiting or some other type of meeting or something like that, I would have to fill all that out. And then that would add a second button on that shared bookings page. Business information. This is basically you're looking at the business, so basic details. What's the name of the business? Send customer replies. So when a customer replies to something, who gets it? Right now it's my email. Logo, you'll see on that page. I've got this picture, that picture that comes up. So if you wanted to have your organization's picture up there, then you would do that in that business information area. So you would change the logo, delete it. So if you wanted to add, as long as you have an image. So if you wanted to change the logo, it's going to take you to your file folder and ask you, okay, where is it? Where is your file? So you'd want to put that file on your PC or wherever you're going to load that first. Your business hours. So this is important where this is where it's going to get those times available. So the business hour time. So when it says use regular business hours, So if you're not going to customize every calendar, then you just want to go off your business hours. You want to make sure that this is accurate and complete based on when you want to be able to have your meetings. And that's why when you saw earlier, 4:30 was the last 30-minute increment because business stops at 5 o'clock. And then integrations, this is where Power Automate, somebody asked the question, this could happen, but again, this is way beyond the scope of what we're talking about. However, it is possible to be able to do that. Okay. See if I can. So it's going to take a little while before this optional staff goes away because I said I do not want them to be able to say who they make the appointment with. Even though that service is going to go for both. Sure.
Hey, Dave, as we're winding down, I'd love to share a tip that I find helpful. And you kind of alluded to it previously, like creating, a use only one link. Oftentimes, I will have an email that I'm writing to somebody, and I do have links in my signature, but sometimes it's just better in the body of the text. If you can go to your personal booking page. Show you. Yeah, go to one. Yeah, that page right there.
Yeah.
And if you do you have the 3 dots on that book meeting type with me? If you hover over that or right click. Okay, I do this all the time, unless it's changed. I can actually grab a link where that meeting is a one-use link from there. So maybe you have to have multiple meetings there, but yeah.
Okay. One.
So the audience knows this. Oh, here it is back on your main page. So so the audience knows this booking's just revved. Like the whole look and feel changed within the last week or so. So if you go back to your main bookings page, that very top level, right there. If you grab the 3 dots, there's your different meeting types. You can click right there, and you can. You don't have the option. I do have single use. Maybe on somehow you set those meetings up. I actually have that copy.
That's where I know what you're talking about. It should be copy. Nope. Yeah. We're also in that demo tenant. Yeah.
We're also in a demo tenant. So that could be some differences between our production and this Microsoft demo tenant that we have. Yeah, it still looks different for me. Let me show real quick if you don't mind. That make me the presenter because I don't want people to think I'm making it up. And with change happens all the time in 365. So you could be in between a change with that. All right, and I should be able to share my screen now. I don't know what screen. I can bring that over here. We can actually see, this is my personal bookings page. When I drop down, I can create a link right from there. So I don't know if you have any last minute tips that you would like to share, Dave, or if anybody else has any last minute questions. That Power Automate question, is pretty neat. You can get pretty deep into that with some automation. I would encourage you to explore that.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd like to show is, again, just want to review that once you have in your email, so that you can add into your signature, if you want to have your bookings page as part of your signature, which most of us everyone at my work does this, because when we send messages out, we want to be able to, again, allow the customer to be able to book something without having to, wait for us to call and the back and forth nature. So if you just go ahead and select a new email, come to signatures, select signatures, and then decide, and if you have more than one signature, you can decide which one you're going to use. And here, I'll delete. So if I just go ahead and this is where I would say include a link to my bookings signature, save that. And now when I create a new message, now it says, Day D's training guide, book time with me. And then that's going to take them to my booking page where they can set up a meeting with me.
I do a similar thing, Dave, but I have several different meeting types, so I just have a link to that particular. I do a similar thing, Dave, but I have several different meeting types, so I just have a link to that particular meeting type in my signature. So they need the 15-minute quick connect. You want to schedule a deeper dive. It's 30 minutes and so forth. So you can also do that, which is helpful. Last thing we could touch on, somebody asked the question, just in case you didn't see it, they were like, what if somebody calls in? So I imagine they're managing a staff. So they probably set up an org-wide booking page. So as an administrator at that company, you could just go to your page and schedule that meeting on behalf of that person. There's it'll follow through all the reminder functionality because there was a field to put that person's email address in. So you could just do it on behalf if somebody actually calls in to schedule an appointment. You just may need to look at those various schedules or make sure that, Brad and Mike are both available. So you're looking at that particular meeting type, but you could certainly facilitate scheduling a meeting for somebody over the phone.
I want to thank Dave, both you and Dan, for that excellent tour of bookings today. I'm sure everyone found this webinar to be informative, and it really exposes an exciting new way to schedule meetings or let people schedule their own meetings with you and your organization. As Dave mentioned, the session was recorded, so we'll be sending a link out to the recording a little later this week, or actually first part of next week. And as we wrap up, just a couple more important points. If you are a client of VirtualIT currently, your users are welcome to call the help desk with questions on bookings at any time, and the help desk will be happy to help with what you're trying to set up. If you're not currently a client yet and you would like us to help a little bit, we'll include our contact information for me and Mike McQueen when we send the video out, and we'd love to hear from you. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for attending today. And I hope to see you. We've actually got a couple of more webinars we're scheduling now on some of the other Microsoft apps that are free to you, but maybe ones that you don't know about. And we'll get the word out to you as soon as we have those settled. And with that, have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Booking multiple staff. This feature is going to show you how you can create an appointment so clients do not select individual resources. They'll see the resources, but they won't be able to select one over the other. You're going to provide, as the supplier of the booking page, you're going to let the customer know who they'll be meeting with if they select the service. That way, the staff who's configured, an example, if there's 2 staff members who are going to be working in IT support, both are scheduled for the appointment. So Bookings is going to use both availability calendars to make sure that the times that are shown to the customer are based on that. Let's see how to make this work. So I'm at my bookings page, and I want to select a shared bookings page. Remember, shared bookings page means that I'm sharing the service with more than one employee or colleague. I'm going to go to the org-wide page, testing, and I can see right now I have one that says no staff assigned. If I don't want to see that, I can just deselect this over here on the left. I can see Dave Dees and Lynn Robbins are currently selected for this page. I want to verify that. I can go to staff. This is where I can see, yep, Dave is here, Robin's here. If I wanted to change anything, you'll see a little pencil next to each name, as well as edit the staff under the person's name. This is where I would add new staff. So if I wanted to add a third person, I would select add new staff, and then I could say who I wanted to be within that meeting. So I now know I've got 2 people for this service. And that service is, if I go to the services, I can see that it's IT support. Again, Dave and Lynn are configured for that. Now I need to go to the bookings page. And I go to the booking page selection. And here is, configure your booking page and so on. We've already covered that. What's important here for this particular way we want to make this work is default scheduling policy. I'm going to click that drop down, and like before, it shows the increments, our lead time, both minimum, no sooner than 24 hours and as far out as 365 days. Then we've got email notifications. Right now, notify the business, which means when a customer schedules this, the resources, Dave and Lynn, will both be notified that, this person has set a meeting with you. It's also a best practice or nice feature to send a meeting invite to the customer. That way you don't have to go back and remember how to do that. This will allow bookings to send an email to the customer upon booking it that says you have booked this time, and it's going to include, if it's a virtual meeting, because that's what this service is set up for virtual, it'll show them that virtual or Teams meeting. Now, the most important feature for this that we're talking about is booking multiple staff and not allowing the customer to pick and choose who they want to be there. We want all the resources in this, both of them. So right here under staff control, it says allow customers to choose a specific person for the booking. You want to deselect that. And now what the customer is going to see, instead of a drop down being able to say anyone, Dave or Lynn, it's just going to tell them here's who's going to be at the meeting. Again, you could go ahead and modify the general availability if it's, if you want to set time for this service during certain times of day or days of the week. If you don't, it's just going to use whatever time is available for both Dave and Lynn in our example. Again, I just want to reiterate the most important feature to make this work or configuration is this staff control. You want to deselect that. Scroll back to the top and we're going to click save. Now, if I want to see how this works before anybody books me, what I can do is I can come here next to where it says your booking page and click on copy. I'll return to my bookings page. I'm going to open a new tab and I'm going to paste that into my URL in my browser. And here we can see that it worked because here's my org-wide page testing, and here's the staff group. Okay, Dave and Lynn. And the available times are based on Dave and Lynn's availability calendar. And if the customer wanted to book, they would book. They will have to put in their first and last name and their email address, so we know how to respond to them. And that's how to book multiple staff. Bookings in Teams. what we want to show you is how to run the Bookings app within Teams. And we're also going to talk about something known as Teams virtual meetings. Let's take a look at how this works. So I'm back at my Microsoft 365 account in Bookings. I'm going to select my Teams. And right within Teams, you'll see I have a lot of these different buttons, right? You might be familiar, Chat, Teams, Calendar, and so on. I also have a button called Bookings. So I can click on that. If you don't see Bookings, you can select the ellipsis or 3 little dots on the left side and look for Bookings in here. If you don't see it, select More Apps and just type in Bookings. And here you can select it and that'll go into that as a tab. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and select Bookings. And you'll see it looks it's the same page, only it's within Teams. So I can jump around my Teams app while I'm also part of that is running my bookings. Okay. So again, it works just the same way. Here's my org-wide team that we showed you earlier, the bookings page, how that's going to work, and so on. Now, another thing I want to show you is the concept of a virtual meetings in Teams. So this is a fairly new feature. What this allows you to do is, instead of having the customer book a meeting, let's say I want to establish the meeting with the customer. So maybe you don't want to allow them to change it. You don't want to get them to use bookings. You want to control the narrative completely from the beginning. So, and the reason this comes up or is a feature is it's, as it says here, if you click the little drop down next to new teams, or sorry, next to new meetings, you'll see virtual appointment. It says guest join on web, entered via tailored lobby. All this means is it's focused now. When I select that, you'll see there's a line that says external guest's name and email. So this is designed so that if you needed to have a meeting with somebody outside of your organization, it's designed so you can do that using this virtual appointments feature. So I would just add a title. Give it a name or say who the customer is, and then their email address. I'll just use my Knowledge Wave one for now. Set the date and time, or whether it's all day. Now, if I go to Scheduling Assistant, I won't see it. It'll show that Dave Deese is unavailable because they're outside of this domain. And then I could add attendees within my organization if I wanted to. Okay. So remember, we have Lynn Robbins. I start typing Lynn, and because she's in my network, I can invite her as well. I'll be on there because I'm creating the meeting. So Dave Deese said in MS Office Help. Add a location. If I wanted to have a different location, I could do that. But this is going to be a virtual meeting, so it's going to set up a Teams meeting. And then I might add the agenda for the meeting. Now, one other thing you may want to see here is who can present. So if you want to direct the narrative, you may want to say only organizers and co-organizers can go ahead and present. So if you want to control that narrative, you would want to select that, and that's why that's the default. However, if you're going to be in a meeting and you want to allow the customer to present, you may want to select everyone. And then meeting chat, this allows you to be able to allow a chat to happen. So if this is going to be a larger list of multiple people, you may want to have the meeting in chat meeting so that even if people aren't speaking, they're able to chat with you, and the chat bar will be on the side of the meeting. Once you're done with that, and there are options, you can go in deeper if you wanted to try that out. It goes out as that meeting. And that's how the Teams virtual meetings work. and that is Microsoft Bookings. Again, my name is Dave Deese, and thanks for being here.